Honey,
Hi, good morning.
how are you doing? This week, a poll has found that 60% of people think that going on holiday overseas at the moment is selfish behaviour. What do you think of that? Do you agree?
Well, I think this is an ethical dilemma, as much as it is a personal dilemma as well. But from a human behavioural point of view, it's not actually a new dilemma. If you think about it, from the very earliest point in our life, when we first become mobile, when we first get up on our two little feet, we have this dilemma. Do we venture out into the world? Do we explore? Do we have fun? Do we go off on adventures? Or do we stay close? Do we stay safe? Do we stay in the kind of bosom of our safety and security? So there's a personal dilemma here, as well as there is a kind of ethical dilemma. When you think about this is going to come, your opinions on it, I think, are going to come from a personal perspective, depending on whether you are someone who works in the hospitality industry or knows somebody who works in that industry, in which case you're probably going to be thinking, let's get the economy moving again, let's get people out there. Or whether you're coming from this very sort of health anxiety perspective and thinking, no, let's all stay in. But of course, at some point, we're going to have to navigate that risk and make decisions for ourselves.
Dr. Banerjee, you've been working on the front line, including in the Nightingale Hospital. You must need a holiday. Have you got your bags packed? I
could definitely use a holiday like most people. But what I'd say is my lens at looking at this is health and public health. And firstly, taking into account my own risk on the basis of my own age and underlying conditions, the risk to others, and then different activities have different risks. And at the moment, it's quite confusing, the list of countries or the list of activities that we are able to do and what that information is based on. So if I am not happy with the first two, as in my own risk and the risk to others, then I can't contemplate going on holiday at the moment.
So is it irresponsible to go abroad then?
I think that we're in this challenging place where the responsibilities being put back into my court, the individual citizen, and I think actually that's fair enough. As Honey said, that is not new to healthcare or to society, but I can only make decisions if I have appropriate information and understand the risks properly. And I think that's something that's not well enough done at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
Do you think the fact that so many people are rushing to book holidays is a sign that we've become much more individualistic as a culture? We're less able to think of other people?
I'm not sure I'd go as far as that. I'd say that at the moment, I come from somewhere where I've seen the devastating implications of this disease, whether it's at population scale or with individual patients, and so I might have a different lens to somebody who's not seen that and wanting to go on holiday and get life back to normal. But the reality is that we still haven't got a vaccine, we haven't got drugs, and so the only thing we've got up our sleeves is to keep the infection rate down. And so if you are going to go on holiday, and until yesterday you were not meant to go on anything but essential travel. But if you do have to go to holiday, then it's not that you don't follow the same rules. You have to still maintain distance, keep the infection rate down, because that's all we've got in our armoury at the moment.
Well, let's talk to someone who is going on holiday very soon, Simon Calder. You actually look like you're abroad now because the sun's sort of shining on your face, but you are in this country now. You're just about to go abroad.
Yeah, I mean, 3 hours from now, I'll be taking off from Heathrow Airport, destination Nice, and I can't wait. And I am absolutely comfortable about it because, first of all, I know that I have never felt healthier, so I'm not, I hope, going to pose any risk to anybody else. I know that it's going to be a problem at the airport and on the plane, and anybody who thinks that passenger aviation and social distancing are at all compatible is, I'm afraid, wrong. But you have to take a small amount of risk if you are going to do what we all should do if we're feeling up to it, if we're feeling confident and comfortable, which is go abroad, go on holiday. The reasons, well, it begins very practically and statistically with the fact that if you happen to be in Greece on a beach, you are presenting far less possibility that you're going to be infected than if you are here in the UK. So actually exporting 5 million people this month to various parts of Europe where the infection rate is lower is actually going to keep us safer.
But Simon,
Yeah.
as we are one of the worst affected countries in the world and we still have local lockdowns, isn't it a bit selfish of us to export that?
Oh, sure, look.
To infect all the other countries?
It is entirely their decision. Of course, they are struggling with this idea of health. Do we keep the Brits out because their infection rates are terrible? Or do we allow them in, hopefully to travel respectfully and to, of course, obey all our procedures? But ultimately, tourism is an enormous force for good. It enriches us emotionally, and goodness knows we need that. But also, much more importantly, it enriches host communities. There are millions of people across Europe, tens of millions of people across the world who have simply lost their livelihoods for the past few months. I'm going to go across to France and spend as much as I possibly can to do whatever I can to get things working again.
Well,
but of
Simon,
course, be respectful to the host community.
Yeah, that's very admirable of you. But looking at what people are saying, messaging us, so Mark on Facebook says, taking a flight at the moment would be madness, in my opinion. Paul on Facebook says, why is everybody and his dog in such a tearing hurry to leave the house? I'd sooner wait until Christmas.
And that's absolutely fine. Yeah, good luck to them. If they don't want to get on a plane, and my goodness me, anybody who tells you the risk in doing anything is zero is wrong. Complete safety is simply not going to happen. But there are many risks out there for travellers. We've got used to managing them. I don't think we should focus on this one. I absolutely sympathise with Dr. Banerjee and the fantastic work he's been doing, the things he's seen, and the fact that people who are vulnerable certainly shouldn't be travelling. But for the rest of us, for goodness sake, give yourself a break. It's spiritually, we all need to get out and see the wide world.
Dr. Banerjee, excuse me, Simon. Dr. Banerjee, what do you think of Simon's point? He almost seems to be arguing that we have an ethical duty to go on holiday. He says everybody should go on holiday. How do you feel about that?
So, I'm a very avid holiday goer and traveller myself, and it's good for your mental health. It's I tend to be more active when I'm on holiday. It's good all round. However, in the current context, if we look at the kind of things that have been opened or not as we are easing lockdown, it strikes me that flying abroad on holiday, number one, is less essential. That's an individual choice, but also we have to grade different activities as different risks. So at the moment, today, I can't go to the gym, or I can't go and get my nails done in the nail salon, but I can get on a plane and fly on holiday. What's that based on? And of course, everybody around the world, and not least in our country, is struggling to put bread on the table during these very, very difficult times. But what I'd say is that health and public health are paramount, and we might indirectly do worse if we have these recurring waves of infection. That will create more uncertainty for our economy and the economies of others if we don't take this seriously.
Honey, so if I did what Simon is doing and I went to Spain tomorrow and I tweeted a picture of me with a pint of beer sitting on a sun lounger, I would get a lot of criticism on Twitter. Are people being shamed into staying at home? Are we becoming more judgmental as a society because of things like social media?
I think social media does make us sort of pass judgment. I think if you were to go away, if you were wearing the pyjamas, maybe you'd get criticism. I don't know whether it would be travel related. I think everybody has got their opinion on this. What matters most, actually, I think, is that we do have to trust the experts. We have to trust that there are calculated risks being taken into account. And with that comes personal responsibility. That I totally understand anybody who is absolutely urgent about going on holiday or getting out. I feel it too at the moment. I love to travel. I travel a lot. So I really do get that. But at the same time, we can take steps to be responsible. So as long as we are acting within the guidelines, as long as we are following all of the rules, then I think we do need to make that personal choice. And there is always a balance of risk.
Simon, if you're saying that we need to go abroad to revitalise economies, shouldn't we perhaps stay home and revitalise our own economy first?
Well, there's lots to be said for that. And most certainly the British travel industry is going to have a very interesting summer. But I've talked to people, for example, the councillor in Cornwall responsible for tourism, and he says, please lift the quarantine rule abroad. We cannot cope with the millions of people who would be coming down the A30 to Cornwall if they're not allowed to go abroad. They genuinely believe it's going to cause more harm there. Wherever you're going, be respectful, of course, but do give yourself a break. I can almost smell the lavender in Provence, taste the food, look at the sparkling Mediterranean. That is a wonderful gift that we as a generation are able to enjoy. Of course, we do it respectfully. Of course, we follow all the rules. But for heaven's sake, please just give us the chance to go and meet people from different cultures, to break down all the barriers that have been created over the past few months. Of course, if you're coming from Leicester, you won't be able to do that, I'm afraid, or postcodes in Dumfries and Galloway, or indeed from Wales until tomorrow.
Dr. Banerjee, I mean, they're all good points, aren't they? And I mean, smell the lavender and taste the wine and all that. It is very tempting. Lastminute.com have said they've had a huge increase in interest in holidays to Spain and Greece. We know bookings are up. We know people are going to go abroad. So what's the best advice you would give if someone is going to Greece on a beach holiday now? What should they be doing?
So if you have decided that you are going, I would use the framework that I said. That firstly, look at your own risk based on your underlying conditions and age. And if you have any symptoms of coronavirus, then you shouldn't be going, of course. Secondly, that last point relates to risk to others, and we have to remember that the way this virus spread in the first place was most likely the best vector was flights and the movement of us as human beings. So we really must guard against that, whether it's wearing masks and distancing. And thirdly, when we're abroad, doing what we would do when we're in our own country to protect ourselves and others.
Thank you all very much for joining us.